We are rolling. Hi, we are joined by my absolute mentor, teacher, friend, Jan Clough, who has a long career in and focus and specialization in drawing. She went to the University of Madison, Wisconsin for her MFA. I don't remember what year you graduated. Doesn't matter. Um, I learned many lessons from Jan in both life and in work. And so today we're going to talk specifically about drawing, relating to also the sketchbook. So, drawing as a practice, a focus, a celebration of it, but also how the sketchbook might play a role in the development of ideas, perception, love for the world, and visual acuity. Does that sound pretty accurate?
I think that sounds great.
Great.
Yes.
So let's jump right
Well,
in, Jan. Let me know when you want me to change the slides.
that sounds good. I it's been so long since I've seen you, but time just melts away. It just feels right to be connected with you again. Um, so this is a delight for me. Um, so this first photo, I wanted to think, well, what should a first photo be? And I guess I'll take it of my unimpressive studio. It's just a room in my house, but what I like about that is um, it's the last thing I'm working on before it's time for bed, and I'll even leave the light on when I'm brushing my teeth, and then I'm done. I say goodbye to my drawing. Sometimes I give a little kiss with my fingers, and then turn off the lights, and then I go into the next room to bed. And then I wake up the next day, turn on the light, say hello to my drawing, and go brush my teeth and all that stuff. So I love having a studio at home. I truly live with my art that way. And this is the current drawing of a shell that I thought I'll just do a quick one because I'd finished something. I'm 3 months into this. I am having problems in my studio. I get stuck a lot. I don't know what the next move is. And then some fear comes over. And I miss younger me when, oh, it didn't matter because I wasn't that good yet. I'll just try this and that. And I'm still at the I'll try this and that. One of the things I marvel at is that as artists, we are, of our own work, we are witness to some beautiful, miraculous things. Sometimes I'm in awe of something I did, but then sadly it gets covered up. So it's kind of personal. It's like I get to see all of this great stuff, but it doesn't last until the end. But the flip side of that is I know where all the skeletons are buried in my drawings too, just hoping that people don't see that one awkward moment that I couldn't fix, but everything else worked out. So anyway, I'm a struggler in my studio, and I am by choice, and I'll explain that here in a minute. The other thing is I'm not very Googleable. If you Google my name and click on images, you're going to maybe see two rando images. I do not have a website. I do not try to get into shows very much. I often tell my students I'm the most unprofessional, professional artist you're going to run across. And I don't say that with pride. It doesn't matter to me. I just want to make the work. That's what I care about. So I'm not Googleable. So it's like, so what I did for most of my life were meticulous drawings. They would take about a year to do. And it got down to a formula for me. I was always challenged, but mostly with the beginning drawing out stage, I felt alive. And then it got time to fill in with pencil. And that is what took months and months. And I was good at it. I got into shows. I won top awards. I sold work. So the public loved it. But soon I decided, no, I'm feeling dead inside. I'm not feeling challenged beyond the beginning drawing of it. Slide. Next slide.
Sorry, I'm having a little stick here. There we go.
So I draw from life. I do not draw from photographs. I don't have any problem with people. I don't like it when my undergrad students draw from photographs. I think they can get to that on their own time. But in and some people are creeped out by these dolls. I hope nobody is. But so I had this vision for these dolls, and I tied them around their little necks so they wouldn't fall over. And then I made a string grid because this is pretty darn complex. Next slide. And so this is the part of the drawing I feel alive, where I spend a few months drawing it out linearly, really getting everything right. Slide. And then I'm no painter. So I then just put flat gouache on. Just, if it's a red hat, I'm going to use a red gouache. And I'm still feeling pretty alive here. And then next slide. And then my spirit starts to die. It's cool. So I get the illusion of wrinkles and lighting and everything with pencil. So I like this photo because the above part you can see is just flat color. It's the pencil that enlightens everything. And so I have some ooh moments like, oh, that was exciting. But mostly it's just filling in. And so I like to be challenged when I do the entire piece of artwork. So slide. And this is a finished product. I love it. I love this drawing. It's still with me. It's made its money off of me. I love when you're in a show and you get a first place, here's $1,000. You can keep the drawing, but you get the money. It's like, okay. So I've made money off of this one. I'd like to sell it one day just to get it out of my life. But so I acknowledge it's good. People love it, but it's kind of a shtick of mine after a while. It's like, this is what I do. This is my magic. Next slide. So I just thought I'd include one other doll drawing. I found this doll in an antique mall, and I loved it. I did a lot of drawings of it. Again, I drew it out first. That's the most alive. Probably took me a couple months to get to this point. Next slide. Terrible color. The real color is in the lower photo. But again, I paint the gouache on flat. Then I start to draw into it with pencil to give the illusion of the ruffles. Next slide. And this is it done. So I don't mind telling you, it's wonderful. But you can tell by the way I'm talking, it's very formulaic. I do this, then next I do this. It's like I'm on my own assembly line. And again, this took about a year to do. And whose mind has time for that? The next photo is going to be a photo of me standing in front of the drawing, so you get the sense for the size, and you can show that now. That's the only reason I had this photo taken. It wasn't like, hey, mom and dad, look at me. But these are pretty big drawings. That's why they take a long time. So I think, let's go to the next slide. I think I know what might be coming next. Okay, so at that point, I thought, look, Jan, you can draw anything. We know it. And you can draw it well. When something takes a year to do, I'm going to make darn sure it's as perfect as can be. And because I knew I could draw anything, I did a few of these drawings where I would start at blind contour, and then I paint into it, then I cover it with a thin wash, blind contour again, because I wanted it to look like it was moving. And then after doing that 3 times, then I'd white wash thinly over it, and then I draw it observing. And I like what happened here. But even my blind contours, I thought, geez, Jan, you can draw too well. I'm too accurate, even with blind contour. And so I might kind of fudge, like, oh, this went off a little bit more to the side. I just love, my drawings are about the challenge of drawing. That's all I want to do. That's all I ask of the world. Just challenge me, make me think, make me respond. And this was starting to get me to that. Next slide. Then the one to the left is my first ever pastel drawing. I like it. And then the one to the right, it's pastel that I mixed in with white wash. I like that look. So I'm totally experimenting. There isn't an artist I'm looking at who paints into the pastel with white wash. I just tried it, and I like the look of it. And that drawing to the right is one of my favorite drawings, I think. It just seems alive to me, and I suspect I felt alive during it. All right, next. Then I enjoyed that so much, I thought I'm going to do more gouache. So this isn't pastel, this is just gouache. So I've moved on from dolls that I did for like 10 years, and now I like figurine things. This is a bird that I got somewhere, and I like to put it on a fabric so that then the ground is activated and interesting with some kind of a pattern. Next. Then I kind of get a kick out of drawing with goose feathers for a quilt pen. And this is how unprofessional I am. This isn't the final photo of this drawing. I didn't even take a final photo, and it's in a frame. So, oh well. But it looks basically like this. But yeah, this is just something for brain exercise. It's challenging to draw dipping a goose feather into ink. I like that challenge. And then I went into it with ink and yeah, and that's that. I like these rabbits because it always seems like they're praying in a communal sort of a way. Like I really think they've got my best interest out for me. It's like I'm a part of their little prayer circle. And you've got a little shot of my studio from there too. All right, next. This is a drawing I liked a lot. Total experimentation. I think it started with acrylic paint, and then I used for the first time oil pastel into it. And then I took a Dremel tool and I dremeled into it in places so that some of the acrylic paint underneath would show. And I like the result. I tried to get this look again, and I can't do it. And, you know, I should take notes when I draw, just so I know how I did certain things. But I can't. Even if I did, I wouldn't be able to get that look back. But this drawing made it into a show in Indiana, and it was $1,000 purchase award. And I thought, I'll put down, sure, it's available. Or I think I put down, no, it's not available for a purchase award because I wanted $2,500. Well, they bought it for $2,500. I got 3 purchase awards for this one drawing, which I love that happened. But I prefer it when they give you the money and you keep the drawing.
Yeah.
Because then I learned, like, when these drawings stay in my house with me, I look at them a lot, trying to figure out how I did it. And I think there's a lot I could learn from this drawing that it's no longer with me. So,
oops.
Next.
Sorry, didn't mean to do that.
No, next. Perfect. Another pastel. Pastel is so difficult to work with. Do you ever work with it, Missy?
Never. It's too painterly for me.
Yeah. And it's just hard.
Yeah.
Everything's hard though. But I love these 2 rabbit statues. And 2 things. I wanted this to be clever because usually it's a darker one behind the lighter one. And so this is reversed, and I think it's visually striking because of that. But I had also taken a hiatus from teaching figure drawing because we had 2 figure drawing professors. And I deferred to her, just saying she can have that class, I'll teach other things. And so after coming back to it after 10 years, it's like, oh, that's right, anatomy and all that stuff. This is a stronger drawing because of figure drawing. Mm-hmm. Anything I draw to this day now, I don't care if it's a flower, a seashell, whatever, I'm trying to capture its anatomy. And so I recommend that always. Take as many figure drawing classes as you can. It just hones your skills. And by my teaching it, I'm getting to be a better artist. That's a sneaky thing, and I bet you're going to agree, Missy, is that so we're teaching basic drawing or advanced drawing or figure drawing, and we're being reminded all the time about all of these good studio practices and what makes a strong work. And so while we're giving, we're getting. a lot too.
Mm.
Yeah. So next, seashell. That's always like what I think. Oh, that'll be quick. Um, this one, this it's sad. This one took forever, but it doesn't look belabored. That's the thing. My meticulous drawings with pencil, they look like they took a long time. You'd never guess this thing took like 3 months, and it's not 3 months of drawing. Sometimes it's 3 months of drawing every day, and saying goodbye to it at night, and then saying hello to it first thing in the morning. But I intentionally started this out ugly. I put, I think, acrylic paint on it. Then I took sandpaper and sanded through it. And I like that. Then I drew on top of it. I like it. Yeah. It looks kind of like a fossil. But I like that sandpaper look that I haven't been able to duplicate since this drawing. I've tried. All right, next. Surely we're getting to the end of these. Oh, then I like to draw nests. I place the nest in my studio, and I am trying to find every little strand. I like thinking about how the birds make them. I like it that my friends find a nest and they save it for me. I like involving my friends to, in something like that. They feel important, but that's also their way of respecting that I'm an artist and I must talk about it enough that they like that. Both of these drawings, I almost quit twice. The one on the left is one of my favorite drawings I've ever done. I struggled so much with it. I couldn't get the look out of my head onto the paper. And really, I think I took it off the wall, put it in my closet of shame, then I put it back on the wall. I wasn't going to let it get the best of me. And I've got a nice drawing. And with this one to the right, it looked cold and sterile, but somehow I think it turned out nice. So when I'm working in studio, I'm not very nice to myself in my head, I think. I think I start to say, I can't do this, or I don't know what I'm doing. And it's such a great, rewarding feeling when you start to listen to the drawing and it starts to say, Jan, just come on, like, look at me, see what I'm suggesting to you. And so if I take my fears and my ego out of the way and just kind of pay attention to those beautiful, magical moments, usually I can win and get a nice drawing. And then what an intimate experience. This drawing and I intimately know each other, and they know it. These drawings know my fears and my determination, and I know every strand and every decision that I made in it. So the drawing is just a very intimate, spiritual experience for me. Then next, I think I know what's next. Okay, so I was going through some old images. I thought, wow, I like this drawing. I have no memory of doing it. And so everything I just said, it's like I'm intimate with both of these, all of my drawings. I have no recall. And I'm trying to read the date on this. I think it's in my closet of shame. I've got drawings that I don't throw them away. I just toss them into a closet. I suspect it's at the very bottom. This is gouache. I like it for its abstract qualities, but yet its observational qualities. I can tell I was probably teaching my students in drawing one about using value to define contours. Line is not evil, but you don't need the line to say, here's a contour edge, a dark value against a light value. So there's a lot of good teaching things going on in this, but I'm going to have a one-person show here at WIU in a year, when it's about time for me to retire. I'm going to find this drawing, and it's going to be in there. And it's going to be a drawing I'm really proud of. And so I'm looking forward to going through that closet of rejected drawings and wonder if there's some other good stuff in it. Yeah. But, I like that one.
I have a question for you. You've talked a lot about how teaching can affect your practice in the studio. I'm wondering how the studio impacts your relationship to teaching, because it seems like there's a dichotomy going on between like the fresher work that sort of invigorates you and then the very studious, focused, longer term work that develops over time.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I know you know the answer because I think you'll agree. Um, yeah, my studio work definitely it, touches my teaching. It makes me a better teacher, and also I can be more intimate with my students' struggles because I was just struggling with the same thing at the same time. But definitely,
Do you
you
see
can't separate the two.
do you see your relationship to your students, because you were always very pastoral, like an actively working artist who is always very acutely aware of the emotional relationship to the work. So I'm wondering if
Mhm.
that is that something that you're conscious of, or is that something just sort of has just become a part of your teaching practice?
I'm not conscious of it. I like it that you said that because that's meaningful to me, and I do think it's true. Yeah, I'm just me,
Mm-hmm.
and I think also I want my students to know that to have an ounce of passion about what you're doing rather than just going through an exercise. And you don't have to be an art major. I just live a life with passion. Be the best you. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I like that idea of being pastoral.
Yeah, you weren't coach
Yeah.
like. You were very like you seem to, and you the way you talk about your work too, and have always talked about your work, it seems, is this sort of relationship. You're in
Mm-hmm.
relationship to the work, and not a lot of people talk about objects that way.
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So yeah, great. I think we're ready for the sketchbook part, and please do keep interrupting.
Okay.
You know, so I've got actually here's 6 sketchbooks. I lent one to somebody recently who I thought they'd find something interesting in it. So there's only 6 of my 7 sketchbooks here. The one on top is my newest one, so it's the most pristine shape, but I like the tattered ones as you get more down on the bottom because that shows I've lived with them. I used to take my sketchbook everywhere I went. Now I take it with me almost everywhere, but it's in a bag in the car. When I was younger, I drew out loud out in the world, and I think that helped me be a better artist. Um, I think the favorite art of mine that I do is sketchbook drawing because I feel in control. You'll see my little Uniball pen that's stuck in the wiring. That's mostly the only medium I use. So I don't have to draw something out and think, now what I'm going to do. It's like, is it going to be pastel? Is it going to be gouache? I can't, I don't know. With a sketchbook drawing, I'm going to draw it with that pen and it's going to get finished. Next slide. Okay, one of the questions you had asked, Missy, was why keep a sketchbook or something like this. And I found this from 1997 when I was teaching an advanced drawing class that I treated it more as a seminar. Most of the drawing was done outside of class by the students, but we talked about art, and I would frantically look for articles and things. This was, I believe, for me before Google and all that stuff. So it was hard. I had to physically find magazines and things. And I found this thing for our first day of meeting about keeping a sketchbook. And I don't really agree with all of this stuff. And so peruse it as you wish. But when I was an undergrad, I was taught you work out your ideas in a sketchbook for your other works of art. And so I was a fake. I do a work of art that I liked, and then in my sketchbook, I would do different ideas so the teacher would see, oh, she's using the sketchbook. Very uninspired and dumb. And so I like on this piece of paper subjects for sketchbook, and it says everything. That, my friends, is a sketchbook.
Mm-hmm.
And it's how you experience your life. So again, I don't like this next line. Your musings, your joy, your despair. You're like, sure, that's great, but it's anything. It's common things. I draw a lot of people, but I'll draw little still life objects. I sometimes buy myself flowers, and I'll draw a flower. And then when it dies, I'll draw the dead flower. It's just about looking, thinking, and drawing. That's what the sketchbook is for me. And I know without a doubt, the reason I can draw anything, not maybe well, but I can draw anything, it's because I draw so much in a sketchbook. And I love it. And then a lot of times, though, somewhere on here it says include ticket stubs, stamps, things like that, and collage it in. I do include a lot of that. I'll put it in, I'll tape it into the sketchbook page. And as I was going through this to make this PowerPoint, what a delightful trip down memory lane I've had. I saw sketches of people I hadn't seen for a long time, and trips I've been on, and it really is a personal thing. It's better than writing in a diary. It's more meaningful, I think, and it just puts a smile in my heart. So next slide. So as I said, I swear by the Uniball Vision pen.
Yep, I do too now.
Yep, wonderful. It's favorite Pastel makes them. It's waterproof, it's permanent, and you can use the side of it really well for a lighter line, and I love it, and I love it that you love it, Missy. You just love it. Sometimes I'll do a goose feather ink quill thing, and a couple of times I've used a bamboo dipping pen, but the bulk of my stuff is with the good old Uniball. So, all right, next. All right, so also there are times I notice I didn't date the work, and sometimes I don't know who it is or what it is I'm drawing. That's all part of the intimacy, and so I love knowing that this is 1998, and I know the people in it. But it's important to put the year down in a sketchbook drawing. It just is. So these are all friends. Their profiles, not that I can't do a three-quarter head on. It's their driving. And my friends, bless their hearts, they'd be driving. I'd be in the front seat, and I'd be drawing them when they drive. And I think they all loved it, but it's hard drawing in a bumpy car. And I think probably most of us have tried it, though. Have you done it, Missy?
I have once or twice, and I gave up very quickly with the bumps.
Yeah. It's just fun, but again, it's an intimate experience. It's better than the mindless conversation you're going to have in the car. Mm-hmm. It shuts them up a little bit.
Yep.
I'm kidding. But then every once in a while on my pages, you'll see I've got quotes that struck me at the time. It's never too late to be who you might have been. All of that. Like they're just little think pieces that you hear it and you think, I'm going to write it down and think some more about it. By the way, Art and Fear, the next quote, I love the book, Art and Fear. It's excellent. They usually have a copy nearby, but I totally recommend it for artists of all ages. Mm-hmm. So yeah, these are random friends of mine. Next. So I know this is a repeat one, but the person, Julie, in the lower part, I lived with her at the time, so we went on lots of trips together. And so I think she looks different if she's got a baseball cap, different if she doesn't. But I like looking at it saying, yeah, I got the nose right and the shape of the lips, like they look like the same person drawing in a car. And I was kind of proud of that. And I paused and I thought, yeah, that's pretty good. So, all right, next. More friends, people. This is Julie's hand on the steering wheel. Nothing's too dumb to draw. That's the thing. I visited a sister. I drew her cat. while I was napping. And then often my sister Kim, I'd open the sketchbook when I get home, and she would have put little things inside inside of it as a little surprise. So I think this might be a cupcake, something that she did. So I taped it in. I wrote Kim, and so that reminds me that she used to do that. Next. Oh, yeah. Really, they all kind of look the same. If we skip one, but we used to take bus trips going to the Chicago Art Institute or to St. Louis, and this is on the bus ride. My students drawing. Actually, can you go back one, Missy? If it's
Oh,
possible?
I didn't realize I missed it. Sorry.
Oh wait, actually, go back another. I thought I saw something before. Okay, so that one.
Oh, wow.
So the one to the right, the student, I let her draw my sketchbook.
Mm-hmm.
I actually let students do that sometimes. One rule of mine is I do not tear anything out of my sketchbook. If I don't like the drawing, I live with it because it's a part of that experience. And you just think, oh, I hope no one sees this. But it's part of the integrity of the sketchbook to me. Never tear it out. And I like having students draw in it sometimes too. If I was on a deserted island though, and someone needed a piece of paper to put the SOS in a bottle to save us all, I'd say I cannot tear a piece of paper out of my sketchbook. I am that dead serious about it. So, but I do like it when it's kind of a communal thing. I'm drawing someone and then a student is peaked, like, well, can I draw in it too? It's like, yes. And so Kristen here to the left did this drawing of Mora, the key to the right. And then I later draw Mora as well. Okay, next. And to the right is the drawing of Mora. So it was the same trip. Poor thing, she did a lot of posing. She used to draw my sketchbook too. And to the left is Chuck, a beloved student of mine. He had the best hair.
He did.
The best nose, yeah. And again, though, this is all drawing on a bumpy bus. And I love that added challenge. All right, next. Just another friend. This one to the right, I was at a Brewers baseball game in Milwaukee. I had my sketchbook because I took it everywhere. This is in '98. This guy next to me was deaf, and his friend was communicating for us. But at one point, you can see I wrote, my name is Jan. His friend let him know it was Mike. I wrote to him, give me your address. He wrote down his address because I was going to give him a copy of this drawing because I can't rip a page out. I am ashamed to say I never sent it to him.
Oh.
But I know, I mean, truly, it hurts my heart. That's happened to me a couple times, but oh well. I have good intentions, and I just don't get around to it. But I like it that the sketchbook let that conversation and that temporary relationship happen, and to prove that I really am ultimately a terrible human being. Poor Mike is still probably waiting for that drawing that I didn't.
Right by the mailbox.
Yep. So, all right, next. Okay, so young and everything, we had a Diamond Days here in town.
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
Oh yeah. And often after a teaching day, a few of us, faculty and students, would go and enjoy things. You can always tell when my drawings get a little bit more scribblier. But here I am at a bar drawing in my sketchbook as I'm conversing and meeting with friends. Ed here was somebody I was with. I said, you can drink with that hand, but leave your hand down so I can draw it. And he complied. This right page, I enjoyed seeing that we were finishing a keg from my friend Tracy's birthday, but Tracy wasn't there. She was working that day, and we finished that keg. I remember that now like it was yesterday. I would have never remembered that without this. And the two bottom people, I didn't know. They were just random friends of somebody else, and they let me draw them. So again, just the memories, the recording of your life, it's awesome. Next. And then I'd forgotten this. Once at Diamond Dave's, my two friends, but fellow professors, I was going to go to New York City, and we thought, let's travel. Let's go somewhere when Jan gets back. So we put a bunch of things in the United States into a hopper, and we pulled out New Orleans. And so I wrote, and this was on Sunday, May 7th, luck of the draw, wherever we go, that's where we're going to go. And it was going to be in 2000. We never went, but it was fun. And we almost traveled there together in our conversation. Oh, we'll do this and this and that. I love this quote. There's nothing worse in life than being ordinary. Or is it a blessing, though? I don't know. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being ordinary. Yeah. So one of the questions you had said to me, Missy, is there something to share with students that you wish you had known? And I almost want to, and this quote made me think of it, I almost want to say it's okay to be ordinary. Mm-hmm. I thought I had to take the art world by storm. Mm-hmm. I had to be the topic of everything, be on every magazine thing. I'm so glad that never happened to me. I'm so glad that if you do an image Google of me, you don't really see much. And that's weird. So when I was hungry and thought I'm going to be a great artist, I did submit artwork to various galleries. And the Forum Gallery in New York City, perhaps, at least in my opinion, the premier figurative art gallery, they said yes. And they said, send us something. And I did. I sent them a drawing that I think they loved. And the plan was they were going to put it into a group show to see how I do. Mm-hmm. I have no doubt I would have done well. But at that time, they were moving from Madison Avenue to Fifth Avenue. So they didn't have the show. They had the piece for a year. They moved it with them. And I asked for the drawing back. And they sent it back. I don't think it was appreciated. And I thought, boy, that was dumb. I think it was a blessing in disguise. Had I gotten a huge New York gallery, they would have said, you need to do this many artworks a year. And this is a subject matter that our clientele wants. Right. These are good sellers. I don't have that. I can spend a year on a drawing and throw it into my closet if it's not up to my standards. I can draw whatever I want. Mm-hmm. I'm happy to see you nodding, Missy. Yeah. I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to say, we're going to be great. Not everybody can be. Yeah. And I'm okay not knowing if I could have been great. Right. I think I'm great because I love the life of drawing, and I'm still doing it. Sometimes people say, do you consider yourself a successful artist? And here I am telling you, I don't like this, and I don't know what I'm doing. I am successful. Yep. I'm one of the most successful artists I know for the mere reason that I'm still doing it every day. Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more. Yep. And so that's what I wish I had known when I was a younger person. Yeah. So enough of that sermon, but I think that's very important. All right, next. Oh. Mm-hmm. Two rando girls in a plane flight I took to Canada. And their mom was there next, but they would take turns. Alexis sat next to me first, then Jackie sat next to me. And I think it's great that their mom let me do it. But I guess, she was there to make sure. They just read as I drew them. What a lovely way to pass the time. Mm-hmm. All right, next. And then I like it when my friends who can't draw want to draw because they see me drawing all the time. Julie, who I had lived with, and I drew many times, she did these 3 terrible drawings, but they are so sweet, genuine. She's kind of proud of them. I put them in my sketchbook. Love that boy, George. That's just great. Tyler is another former student. All right, next. I was there when you wrote that quote down, by the way. Which common quote? Sense isn't so common. common sense is not so common. And it's so true still today, isn't it? I love it that you were there, Missy. Love it. All right, next. Other people drawing in my sketchbook. This is Mindy. I've drawn her many times. More of Julie's drawings on the right page. They're just silly, but they make me smile because they want to draw. Next.
P-Town.
Oh, yep. And I thought about you because, yeah, I went there too. So Maura McKee, the student I had drawn earlier, this is her drawing Kristen, the student I drew earlier. But here's Mindy, who I went to P-Town with, and some other people. She saved these drawings. Here's to Jan. It was a face because I drew her face often. But then she also drew some mustard and tomato bottles because it's just everyday objects like she sees me draw. These drawings mean the world to me, and she was proud enough to give them to me to say, can you put that in your sketchbook? It's like, you bet. So, all right, next. So Chuck, the one with the great hair, he did these in a figure drawing class, and they're not great. I can remember thinking, ugh, this is my sketchbook. But no, I like the hands in the upper model, gestural and really kind of sweet. But a P-Town memory, Todd, one of the guys I went with, he and I did the whaling boat or whatever, and he did this drawing there. And then on the same thing, I saw Pilgrim Monument in the distance, and I scribbled that out. But you know, I have in my notes that we saw 3 breaches or whatever. It's like, you know, it's silly, but I can read that and say, that's right. I remember being on that boat with Todd. All right, next. I hope this isn't getting too long.
Nope. Keep going. That's
okay.
Great.
All right. So here's my battered books as I'm ready to start a new thought. So let's see what's next here. Animals at a zoo. Great to draw. So challenging because they move. Elephants are pretty great. I'm going to tell you that. But I always like to write who I'm drawing with, and this is my friend and former colleague, Michael. He and I would go places to the Quad Cities and things just to do a sketchbook day, and that was nice. But this is when the circus came to Macomb, where WIU is, and so he and I ran over to it, and they had the animals on the outside during the day, and so we drew them. Okay, next. This one, I'm too afraid to look up underneath that ticket to see what that face looks like. I know it's there, so I don't tear out a sketchbook page, but I will cover up an accident, apparently. And I'm sure it wasn't my fault. It was the Campbell's fault. We wouldn't cooperate.
Agreed.
But I like the elephant. Very good. I was redeemed.
You were, clearly.
Yeah, thank you. Not great drawings, especially that emu is terrible, but you know, I can't remember what zoo we were at, that this lion just kept on growling and growling. I was happy to kind of get that as fast as I could. Next. Just more stuff. Next. And what I like is one on the right side, I was at a zoo in Rome. So, you know, you're in Rome. You know, let's go to the cathedrals, the monuments and things. I'm going to go to the zoo one of those days and make sure I can draw the animals. And they've got the Camelo, Elefanti, like what it is in Italian. I still love this African wild dog that I drew. It is so not my style. And yet, wow, that's really fun and different. So I should try not drawing in my style more often. I think it's probably good for me. And there I am with Michael again, you know, so usually it says it in the upper left corner. So usually if you see me drawing animals, it's usually with my pal, Michael. Next. All right, so when I visit family, in this case, Pennsylvania, I bring my sketchbook, and I found that a great way to converse is I'm sketching and we're all drinking wine, eating, and visiting during it. That way, if there's like an awkward silence because we don't see each other that much, like they watch me draw and I draw. And instead of the term awkward silence, I like the term companionable. Well, I can't say it. Companionable silence. It's like you're just two companions who are comfortable with each other, that it's okay to be quiet. And I kind of like that, having the sketchbook present, everyone can be quiet from time to time. So this is me drawing a nest on my sister's deck. And I would always come and she'd say, I've got what I want you to draw this time. And then I'd go home, make a copy of it and send it to her, and then she'd throw it in a frame. Next. So this is a drawing I did. I took it home and I put blue gouache into it because my sister loves blue. We all wish I hadn't done that, but I did it. And I know not to do it again. But I love noting that my mom was with my sister Jackie and I. My mom is no longer with us. And I love seeing these things like, that's right, mom was there. And I can remember where she was sitting on the deck and things. It's just personal that way. Next. Okay, I'm weirdly embarrassed by this. I am so young.
Yeah, your tan is amazing, though. Come on.
Well, I golf now. And I think that's a lot. But yeah, the tan, I'm more fit than I am now. I'm just kind of embarrassed by it.
Oh, come on.
But I don't know why. It's dumb. But this is me drawing at my sister's house, the flowers that you see in the sketchbook to the left. And again, I'm drawing with mom and Jackie. And I love that. Next. So these drawings are done at Jackie's, my sister Jackie's house, and she's got little grandsons. And the day she plopped out this stuffed animal for me to draw, I thought, that was in 2015, so not that long ago. I thought, really, Jackie, you want me to draw this? It's so involved. It's a vivid memory of mine that as I was drawing it, I got scared because I thought, oh my goodness, I really can draw. It was magnificent. This is a bad photo of this because it's bleached out. But it's darn good. And I'm chatting and drinking wine the whole time I'm doing this with. I think we had to do 2 sittings with this. Something I want to say to your students, though, is it's okay to draw stuffed animals and things like that. But you don't do it sentimentally. You don't grab it because, oh, it's so cute. I just need to draw it. I drew this only because my sister wanted me to give to Ryder, her grandson. He got a copy of it, not the original, because it's in my sketchbook. Yeah. But I was looking at formal qualities. How am I going to draw the look of leaves on this thing? You know, and like I'm just thinking like an artist when I'm drawing it. I don't care that it really is a cute little lamb. Next. So Froggy, I did Froggy the next year. Again, it's like, really, Jackie, you're killing me. But again, I'm just looking at it formally. I'm citing and measuring. You know, it's just, it might as well be a beautiful still life of fruit. It doesn't matter to me that it's a stuffed animal, but it meant a lot to young Ryder, you know. So, and then next. And then the following year, like I swear my sister hates me. It's like I had to do this complex little pony, but this is for Kellen, who's younger than Ryder. This is his baby horsey. But my mom was then in a nursing home, and so you won't see her name here. But my other sister Jill and her daughter Beth were with us. And what a nice memory that is for me. So if you're going to draw stuffed animals or your pets or your girlfriends and boyfriends or yourself, do not approach it with any sentimentality. Approach it like you would anything else. Next. I love this one to the left. I would visit my mom and dad. This is a long time ago, 97. And there was an antler on the hearth. I drew the antler because I bring my sketchbook everywhere. And then my dad drew a silly little moose antler thing. And what a nice memory. My dad is no longer with us as well. And this just brings him here to me. But we take breaks during our visit, and so I go out in their yard and draw flowers. I think the flowers to the right are actually in my yard. Next. Oh, new topic. All right, let's see. You still doing okay, Missy?
I'm doing great.
Okay, great. So, studio, my dogs. I never had a dog growing up. Bella here was my first dog ever. And what a gem she was. She'd be sleeping in the studio when I'm working or staring out the window in the studio, but just always faithfully there. Next. And there's consequences to that. Paint got off my leg onto her. And I love this picture because she doesn't care. It's like, all right, so I got paint. I got a little too close to the sun in your studio. All right, next. But what I really wanted to show you is I did a lot of drawings of Bella. She was a great sleeper. She let me do it. And, sometimes with success, sometimes not. Next. But I love the intimacy of, I knew every inch of that dog. And, I'm trying to capture her soul. And that sounds silly, but, sleeping dogs are like angels. And you just can't help but just believe in the innocence and love and joy of the world when you're drawing a dog. Next. More Bella, but the one to the right is an important one to me. It's a drawing I did with the last time I saw my dad. He didn't survive many years after this. And so he was in a chair sleeping, and I really thought of drawing him. But I thought, no, I've got to maintain his dignity. I don't think Mom would be happy if I drew him and all of that, because he would have had no say-so. So instead, I drew a bouquet of flowers that a well-wisher had brought over to the house, thinking about you and all of that stuff. I remember being terrified when I drew this because Mom had left to run errands, and it was just Dad and me. And I thought, what do I do if something happens? And I didn't like those feelings. I wish I was just basking in the love, like it's me and my dad. But no, it was just like something bad could happen. Well, nothing bad did happen, but this drawing throws me right back there, and I'm glad I did it. Next. And so 10 years later, my mom finally passed away at 91 years old. That was, 20 years later. My dad was just 70 when he passed away. But Mom was 91. I got back from her funeral. It was nearby, and so I got home that night. And normally I'd go, okay, I'm going to go up to the studio and draw. But I got into my house. I thought, I don't feel like working on my drawing right now. I want to feel the feels. And so I had taken a rose from my mom's gravesite, and I stayed on the main floor. My studio's on the upstairs, just to make sure I'm not in the studio. I'm on the main floor, and I drew this. No TV, no music. I just drew it, just thinking and feeling. And when I was done with this, I thought, all right, I'm going to go up to the studio now. I'm going to turn TVs on, and I'm going to live life. But this is a cherished memory for me. It's in my sketchbook forever. And I will always be brought back to what that felt like and how I kind of honored my love for my mother then. So, all right, next. Then we got my beloved first dog, Bella. She slept with me every night. We woke up on September 15th, 2015, and she fell off the bed. I went to see what's up. She couldn't move. She'd had a stroke. We'd been together for like 15 years. What a great ride. And so I've now found a vet who will go to the house to euthanize a pet. But at that point, I didn't have that person, so I had to take Bella into the vet. They said 4:30. So it's a non-teaching day for me, thank goodness. I thought, well, what am I going to do with Bella all day, you know? So at 9 a.m., I thought, I'm going to draw her. This is what I have done her whole life. It's intimate. I'll be thinking about her. She's on the couch next to me. She's going to know I'm there. So I drew her at 9 o'clock. And then I drew her again at 11 a.m. And none of these got finished because while she was pretty darn paralyzed, her head wasn't. And so I just get it going good enough, and then she moved just enough that I couldn't finish the drawing. Next. Her feet, though, she couldn't move. So at 12:30, I drew her feet that I'd drawn a million times. I love her paws. I think I tried to do a head again, and she moved. Next. And then 2 o'clock, and then 4 o'clock. After the 4 o'clock drawing, I called my friend Julie to help me drive Bella to the vet's office, and she passed away. This is one of my favorite days of my whole life. And that might seem strange because it was a heavy heart day.
Yeah.
But it was, I don't think I've ever been this intimate with a human being before. This Blaze, Bella and I were both vulnerable that day. My heart was exposed and she was about ready to die. And I love that I put down the hour that each time I drew her. It was just a beautiful day, but it makes me sad, but it was beautiful. Yeah. So, all right, next. And then I got Blaze, a rescue dog. The left photo was the first day I had him. Second photo was 5 years later. Next.
Someone got thinner.
Yes, I'm proud of that. That's
Fit.
Dog walks. Yes. Love it. So Blaze is a great studio dog, and he does just what Bella used to do, stares out the window, takes little naps. Next.
Oh.
Now you can see he's getting a lot older. He's about 14, I think, and so we've been together almost 10 years, but he won't let me draw him. I'm thinking he's to the point where maybe he can, because he sleeps so soundly. He snores in the studio, but he can be dead asleep. If he knows I'm staring at him, he'll wake right up. And so my goal this summer is I'm going to get some drawings of my dog, and he's going to cooperate with me. But he's just a great companion, but he's no Bella, because Bella loves being drawn. But boy, I couldn't love him more. All right, next. I like to draw dead animals. I've often thought how cool it would be to get a grant from the government that I would be driving along and I would draw roadkills. You know, I would think they could do something with the data. I never did do that though. But these birds, our secretary at the time, she had ordered some little ducklings, and these came from the post office. They didn't make the trip. Sad. That's sad to me. So I drew them to make sure their life had meaning. This was a neighborhood squirrel that died. We called it Topper. I don't know why. I drew him. Next. A dead hummingbird, an ailing mourning dove. Like, they're all around us. A great subject matter. They don't move. And I do think it gives them their life a little bit more meaning, you know, a little bit of permanence in the world. Next. In another house of mine, the 3 little birds were on the ground outside of the nest, and I don't know what happened to them. I drew them. My friend Tracy called me saying, I've got a dead bird in my yard. Can you come over? And I said, yes, and because she knew I'd want to draw it. So I drew it. Again, I love that my friends have a vested interest in my sketchbook drawings, that they know me well enough that I can't get rid of this yet. Jan's going to draw it. Next. That might be it for those. Yeah. Oh, okay. Good.
Sorry.
You sure this isn't going too long? You can edit this, right?
I can.
Okay.
No worries. We're good.
Okay. So I went to Rome in 1998. That was pre-cell phone. Well, I had a cell phone, but it cost $1 gazillion to make a call from it if you were roaming. but there were no cameras on it. And so I made the decision, I'm not going to lug a film camera to Italy with me. And so I brought my sketchbook, and I'm so glad I did. I'm glad that I experienced intimately everything. So this was a view from my hotel room. I know this room 110, got the name of the hotel room. It took me a few times to draw it. I just do it at the end of the day, sitting on the balcony. Very enjoyable. To the left are just incidental things and words I was learning. So next, I drew the Coliseum. I had to go back twice to do it. The second time I was by myself. But I love these notes. It's windy up here. Who knew? I'm in a man's video where I had to pose. Lots of people watching me, and I felt like this was a performance art. It made me nervous. I met a med student from New York who I was actually able to answer some of his questions, and a little boy said I was talented. So nice memories, but that throws me there. Next, just various things. I love the Four Rivers fountain. And then I noted that day I saw the Sistine Chapel up above. I saw the Belvedere torso. So, it's kind of like my travel log. Trevi Fountain, horse. Next, and we went to a concert, leftover food, the shell of whatever that was. But I like the one to the right. Someone asked me for directions. I couldn't believe it, but I didn't know the answer. And then one woman said beautiful. And I wasn't sure if she was talking about me or my drawing. I don't know. I didn't ask. Haha. Okay. Next. And just more from Rome. The one to the left, it was soon, we were going to be leaving soon. I remember had to sit on the cobblestone alley, and it was dark cobblestone. It was over 100 degrees. So it was hot, but it wasn't humid. So I was actually very comfortable the whole time. There's a turtle from the zoo that didn't make the other page. Okay, next. And then I took myself to New York once. I really didn't go for a specific show, so I was kind of like a lost puppy. There weren't shows that I loved at the time. I sat across the street drawing the Guggenheim, and it's a drawing I would tear out of my sketchbook because the proportions are wrong. That is not a good drawing. I'm a maniac about citing and measuring, and I did none of that. But it's got to stay in there. Next. And just more stuff. The one to the right, I was drawing at the Metropolitan Museum, and I put in my notes, a woman attendant said she thought I drew like Michelangelo. And I thought, oh, that's really nice. I'm looking at that drawing. I can't be sure, but okay. All right, next. Okay, good. I really feel like this is going on forever, and I'm so sorry. All right, so let's see what's next. We've got to be getting to the end. I recommend doing master copies of the other artists. To the left, I tried to copy stroke for stroke some Michelangelo stuff. That head did not turn out, so I squiggled through it, so it's invisible. You can't see that.
Right.
But the torso, I redrew it more to my style, and I like that better. So from that little experience, I thought, just draw it in your style, but draw what they were drawing. So there's a Libyan Sybil foot. Okay. Then Nikolai Fechin, Don Crouch, you remember him, Missy?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He said, here, look at these feet and hand studies, draw them. And I said, okay. He taught sculpture. So this is Nikolai Fechin. I looked him up. He's really a painter. I don't like his paintings, but I love his hands and feet. So you can see in my style, I did the feet, and I did a hand that he had done. Next. So here's the hand page. But so I drew all of these things. I think next. So that's the last one. So I'm doing it in my style, but doing these opened my eyes to hands and feet. It just started to make sense to me from that day forth. So next, here's just two hand studies I did when we had a model. They're kind of good. good. And so I think Nikolai fetching for that. So I recommend people in their own style draw from someone who's perhaps a little bit better. All right, next. And some feet I drew of a model, Karen, in 1997. Yeah, pretty good. And so I think I learned a lot just from that copying exercise. Next. So for me, when I'm in my sketchbook, it's all about finding things to correct. And so I do not get upset with the one to the left where the knee was higher and then I see it's lower. That's a thrill. You can see where I had the forehead in too far. I had to bring it out. People say I don't want to draw in pen because what if I make a mistake? That's part of the fun of it, you know. And it's like you're going without a net. You know, you can fall, but you can still dig your way out of it. The one to the right, I think it's the forehead, inside forehead that I intended in the end. And that's why I hatched over the other one, just to try to make it more obvious. Next. And so just figure drawings, but in all of them, there's corrections upon corrections. Next. Both of these, the one to the right, I had to raise the shoulders. I committed to them pretty low, pretty dark, but that's a part of the looking and thinking that sketchbooks are all about. Next. And this one was nothing but a bunch of changes. So on Fridays, I offer figure drawing for people of the community, the retirees, most of them, and they sign up for 1 credit so that they can come. And so we do it for 2 hours, and I draw with them, but I'm always the last to find a seat because I give them preference, and then I walk around the room a lot to see them. So I don't get that much time to draw, but I manage usually to get pretty far. Often I don't get the heads, but this drawing is so many changes, but mostly because the model changed. If I wasn't in charge of the model, I could be sitting at my sketchbook and saying, okay, can you know, your arm was more of this. I'm trusting these students are saying, fine, fine, fine. And then I get back to my sketchbook, it's like, it's totally different. I'm drawing in pen, but I don't care. That's part of the experience about drawing an alive model. Okay, next. Just a really nice drawing that I did on one of those Friday sessions. I like it. Okay, next. And I don't get to do faces often, so often on those Fridays, I'll think, okay, I like that face that I've got here, and so I do the face. Next. And why wouldn't I share this? It's a great foot, so that's why I included this.
Buns are nice as well. Yeah.
What's that?
The buns are nice as well. Muscular,
I know. Yeah.
Great hip projection there.
Yep.
Lovely.
Yep. Love it. Thank you. All right, next. So I'm messing around with students a lot. Sometimes they're drawing, it gets boring, you know, you can't be a helicopter. So I pulled out my sketchbook and I took some, I think it was ink, and I just started doing fingerprint drawings. And my students thought, oh, that's fun. We all tried it. It was a great idea. It didn't really work, but our brains are better for experiencing it. Next. And we are getting to the end. Thank goodness for you. I like starting with gouache, with ink, and then drawing into it because then the ink is kind of a gestural thing. So I was drawing with my advanced drawing class in 2009, and I did the ink, and then I slowed down and with pen drew the petals. We saw this shell earlier in a studio drawing of mine. Started with the ink, then I drew the shell. Next. With the figure, the one to the left is watercolor crayon, which I think is kind of a more richer possibilities than ink. The one to the right is ink. And again, I like starting with the ink first and then making the corrections as you look more slowly with the line on top of it. Next. I do it with figurines, so starting with ink first, then draw into it with the pen. Next. And then for random things, I took a bunch of paint tubes, plopped them on a table. I think I drew it out with, and I think this is with a bamboo dipping pen. And then with brown ink, I did the wash. And I noted it took me an hour to do. Next. So I think also with bamboo dipping pens, the one on the left took me an hour and a half. They both took me an hour and a half. The one to the right was kind of homage to Van Gogh. I don't know. And I think that might be it. Let's see, Missy. Yay! That's it. So I'm even afraid to look. Oh my goodness.
Oh, you stop.
I have told you I'm a quick talker, and like I'm succinct, and boy, that went forever.
Don't worry.
Sorry.
Can I ask some questions?
Yeah.
All right. So here, I'll just make it big. We'll be together. We're still recording. So I'm curious. Okay, so you talked about sentimentality and really instilling in students, like, please avoid sentimentality because that can be, you know, we all know the trappings of sentimentality. It distills, well, and it distills the human experiences as something that's not as complicated as it is. It's really reductive, right? So your sketchbook, though, seems to be, as a commitment, as a discipline, a reflection on sentimentality, like, and relationship and your life and a visual diary.
Yep.
Is that something that you would want to open up to the world? Like, as you were talking, I thought, is she going to have her sketchbooks in this solo show at the university she just dedicated 30 odd years to?
Yep, and they're going to be for sale. I decided they're going to be for sale. And
whoa.
Yeah, and so that makes me very vulnerable. But I'm going to have the photographers on campus take a photo of every drawing for me, so I'll still have them. But yeah, I really think the sketchbooks are the better part of me, and I like to get them out into the world. And what a great coffee table book! If you spill coffee on it, it's already had coffee spilled on it. But yeah, it makes me think, oh my goodness, there's stuff in there, you know. But yeah, I'm gonna do it.
Well, and
it's interesting that you asked that.
Why?
Wow, because you know, I'm the one who won't tear a page out of a sketchbook, you know, and I've got really personal stuff in there.
Yeah.
But interesting, and I like it that I think it sounds, because you asked it, you thought maybe it's a good idea. So yeah. I hope they find loving homes.
Does it bother you that people won't know the real context of who these people were and have the richness and fullness of those experiences in those moments? I mean, I guess like you could apply that to art, but yours are so specific to your life.
It is. And because I went on and on, you can tell it's all very important to me still. But no, I think if you do a piece of artwork that's going to hang on a wall, it's very specific to you, but what's it going to be to the person who buys it? You know, they're drawn to it for a reason. My hope is people are going to want to do figure studies from my figure studies, like I did from Michelangelo and from Nikolai Fechin. Maybe they'll learn something. But yeah, if they don't know, well, the pictures of my dog, it says last day with Bella. You know, so I think people can kind of figure that stuff out. But ultimately, it shouldn't matter to me. If people like them enough to buy them, then for whatever reason they feel they have to have them, then that's good enough for me. They don't need to know me.
Yeah, I get that. So,
like if I had Leonardo da Vinci's sketchbook, one of them, I don't know what's going through his head every day. I know he's a looker and a thinker, but there's probably more. But it's what those images do to me, the viewer. You know, it was important for the making, for me to feel my feels, but then the viewer brings their feels to things.
Absolutely. So my biggest question, we can end on that. what's the next step for you with retirement?
I'm going to make art every day. I should probably try to get into shows again because art should be seen, I suppose, but I don't know. I'm going to make it. And I'm going to frame them. I'm going to live with them, but maybe every once in a while I'll just think, okay, I don't care about solo shows and things like that, but I really want to start drawing a heck of a lot in my sketchbook still, because now it's only on Fridays. But I want it to be really important to me again. And I want to start bringing it out with me in public. You know, I golf with a group of women every Tuesday, and then we have drinks and sometimes dinner afterwards. I've never brought out my sketchbook with them. And I think that would be interesting. I want to put what artists do out there more. They know I do art. They don't know anything beyond that.
I'm sure you're expecting your relationship to the studio to change a little bit with like dialing back teaching 95%. Are you afraid of what that might do to your emotional relationship to your work? Or do you think it's going to affect it at all?
I think my relationship to my work is going to be the same. However, I won't have drawing one when I'm doing with them to remind me in the studio. It's like, oh, this is important. Look at this. So yeah, I am who I am. I have been almost every day in the studio worker for so long that I'm not worried one bit about that. I am worried about not being around young people. And I love my students. Yeah. And I won't have access to them. I'm just going to be an old gal walking around, you know, in town.
Golfing and drawing.
Yeah. So, yeah. But I expect to ease into whatever the next life is going to be, and I'm going to be me. Yeah. And I'm sure I'm going to evolve and devolve and all that good stuff. Yeah.
It sounds like you have a good attitude to this, and it sounds like you're prepared.
I am. Yeah. We'll see, though, if I'm prepared enough. You know, I might have no idea, but I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. Yeah. I'm tired.
Word.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna tie it up. Thank you so much, Jan. You are one of my favorite people in the world, and this has been. I've never heard you talk at length about your work and your commitment to the studio in a way that goes beyond the sort of friendly conversations that we share as artists. So this has been.
I've never done this before.
Oh, it's great.
And that's why in my head this was going to be like 20 minutes, and again it wasn't. So
yeah, don't worry. I'm gonna stop recording.
It's a mini series. It's a mini series.
We might do it in parts. Part 1, Jan. Part 2, Jan.
Each segment, stay tuned next week.
Each still life stack. Well, thank you, Jan.
I love you so much.